You might find yourself waking up these days feeling like the battery just won't hold a charge. It's a quiet, heavy kind of exhaustion that isn't solved by a third cup of coffee or an extra hour of sleep. Many of us in our golden years simply shrug our shoulders and blame the calendar, thinking that a foggy mind and heavy limbs are just the tax we pay for a life well lived. But there is a hidden ailment often overlooked in modern checkups because it feels so common. It's a literal thinning of the lifeblood. We live in an age of high-tech fixes and synthetic supplements, yet we often ignore the ancient, God-given solutions that have been growing in the soil since the dawn of time. The Creator didn't leave us without a manual for our physical tabernacles. He tucked away the very minerals we need to stay vibrant within the fruits, seeds, and meats that sustained the patriarchs and the prophets long before a pharmacy ever existed. I'm David, and I want to welcome you back to our circle. Today, we are going to explore 17 specific iron bombs found in or inspired by the biblical record that can help restore that missing spark to your daily walk. Iron is the primary tool your body uses to carry oxygen to every cell, and when it's low, everything from your heart to your memory begins to falter. By the end of our time together, you'll have a roadmap of 17 foods that offer more than just calories. They offer a return to the strength God intended for us. We'll look at how these items were used in the ancient world and how modern science is finally catching up to the wisdom of Scripture. My goal is to show you how a few simple changes in your pantry can lead to a profound shift in how you feel when your feet hit the floor in the morning. We're going to count these down, and I want you to stay with me all the way to number 17, because it is perhaps the most spiritually significant food in the entire New Testament and a powerhouse for your blood health. Before we dive into the list, I have to share a quick, natural reminder. While I have spent years studying the intersection of faith and wellness, I am a narrator and a teacher, not your personal physician. The information we're discussing today is for educational purposes and to inspire your conversations with your healthcare provider. Always consult a professional before making major changes to your diet, especially if you are managing existing health conditions or taking medications. Now, let's open the pantry of the ancients and see what the Lord has provided for our strength. Let's begin with a gift fit for a prince. When Jacob sent his sons down to Egypt during the Great Famine, as we read in the book of Genesis, he didn't send them empty-handed. He told them to carry the very best products of the land to impress the high official they were about to meet. Among those treasures were pistachio nuts. In the ancient world, you didn't offer common items as a diplomatic gift. You sent what was valuable, durable, and life-sustaining. Pistachios were a luxury of the Persian and Middle Eastern landscape for centuries. These little green gems carry a respectable 4 milligrams of iron per 100 grams. But they don't work alone. They come packed with potassium and vitamin B6, which are essential for keeping your blood pressure stable and your nervous system calm. I remember my grandfather always keeping a small bowl of these by his chair. He called them his happy nuts because they kept his energy steady through the afternoon. Modern studies, like those published in the journal Nutrients, have shown that pistachios also contain lutein and zeaxanthin, which are the same antioxidants your eyes need to stay sharp as you age. To get the most out of them, buy them in the shell. The act of shelling them slows you down and prevents mindless overeating. If you struggle with high blood pressure, look for the unsalted variety. A small handful paired with an orange slice will help your body absorb that plant-based iron much more effectively. Moving from the trees to the garden floor, we have to talk about the bitter greens that have sustained people for millennia. While spinach specifically isn't named in the Old Testament, the people of the biblical world lived on a variety of wild, mineral-rich greens that grew along the hillsides. Spinach is the modern cousin to those ancient staples like chard and mustard greens. A single cup of cooked spinach is a powerhouse, delivering about 6 milligrams of iron. The reason we cook it is simple math. The leaves shrink down, concentrating the nutrients into a smaller volume, so you get more per bite. However, there is a common assumption that spinach is a perfect iron source. The truth is a bit more complex. Spinach contains oxalates, which are compounds that can act like a lock on a door, preventing your body from grabbing all that iron. But the fix is beautiful and simple. Just squeeze some fresh lemon juice over your greens. The vitamin C acts like the key to that lock, breaking the bond and letting the iron flow into your system. I found that a light sauté in olive oil with a bit of garlic makes these greens go down much easier than boiling them into a mush. Just a word of caution for my friends on blood thinners like warfarin. Spinach is very high in vitamin K, which helps blood clot. You don't have to avoid it, but keep your portions consistent so your medication can do its job properly. Next, we look at a food that was central to the very worship of God. In the book of Leviticus, when the sacrificial laws were laid out, the liver was specifically singled out as a prize portion. In our modern world, we've largely forgotten the value of organ meats, often choosing the lean muscle instead. But the ancients knew better. They understood that the life of the flesh is in the blood, and the liver is where the most concentrated nutrition resides. Beef liver is arguably the single most potent iron bomb on this list, providing 9 milligrams of iron per serving. More importantly, this is heme iron, which is the type your body recognizes and absorbs instantly without needing any help from vitamin C. It is also an incredible source of B12 and vitamin A. Many seniors suffer from a decline in stomach acid, which makes it hard to absorb B12 from other sources, making liver a vital ally for nerve health. If you find the taste a bit strong, try soaking it in milk for 30 minutes before cooking it with plenty of caramelized onions. This old-fashioned trick mellows the flavor significantly. Because it is so potent, you only need it once or twice a week. A little goes a long way. However, if you have a condition called hemochromatosis, where your body stores too much iron, you should steer clear of this one and stick to the plant-based options we're discussing. Consider the humble raisin, a food that appears throughout the narrative of King David. In the first book of Samuel, when Abigail went to meet David's exhausted and hungry men, she brought them 200 cakes of pressed raisins. These weren't just treats. They were the ancient equivalent of a high-performance energy bar. When you dry a grape, you concentrate everything inside it, including the iron and the potassium. Raisins provide about 2 milligrams of iron per serving, but they also bring a trace mineral called boron to the table. Boron is a quiet hero for bone health, working alongside calcium and vitamin D to keep our frame strong as the years pass. I often tell folks that if they have a sweet tooth in the evening, a small handful of raisins is a much better choice than a processed cookie. They are portable, they don't spoil, and they provide a quick lift when your energy flags in the mid-afternoon. If you find them a bit tough to chew, try soaking them in warm water for a few minutes to plump them back up. Just remember that because the water is gone, the sugar is concentrated. If you are watching your blood sugar levels, treat raisins with respect and keep your portion small. Pairing them with a few almonds can help slow down the absorption of that natural sugar, keeping your levels steady. Few things are more synonymous with the Holy Land than the olive tree. From the dove returning to Noah with an olive branch to the Garden of Gethsemane, the olive is a symbol of peace and provision. While we mostly think of olives for their oil, the whole fruit is a hidden source of iron, especially the black ones you find in the pantry. Here is a fascinating fact. Most canned black olives are actually green olives that have been treated with a compound called ferrous gluconate to give them that dark, glossy color. This isn't a scary chemical. It's actually an iron salt that stays in the fruit, making those olives a legitimate iron source. Beyond the iron, olives are famous for their monounsaturated fats, which are the heart-healthy fats that make the Mediterranean diet the gold standard for longevity. These fats help reduce inflammation in our joints, which I know many of us appreciate on those cold, damp mornings. When you use them, give them a good rinse under cold water to wash away some of the extra salt used in the brine. I love to chop them up with some garlic and lemon zest to make a quick tapenade for my toast. Just be mindful of the sodium if your doctor has you watching your salt intake. A few olives a day is a wonderful way to honor your heart and your blood at the same time. We cannot talk about biblical food without mentioning the dish that changed the course of history. In Genesis, Esau was so famished after a day in the fields that he traded his entire birthright for a single bowl of red lentil stew. While we might look at that as a poor trade, it tells us how highly lentils were valued for their ability to satisfy deep hunger and restore strength. A single cup of cooked lentils offers nearly 7 milligrams of iron, which is staggering for a plant food. They are also loaded with fiber and folate. Folate is a B vitamin that works hand in hand with iron to help your body manufacture new red blood cells. Think of iron as the bricks and folate as the mortar. You need both to build a strong house. Lentils are incredibly versatile and very affordable, which I know is important for those of us on a fixed income. They don't require the long soaking times that other beans do. You can have a pot ready in 20 minutes. To maximize the iron, cook them with some diced tomatoes or bell peppers. The vitamin C in the vegetables will boost your iron uptake significantly. If you aren't used to eating much fiber, start with a small portion, perhaps a half cup, to let your digestion adjust. Over time, your gut will thank you for the nourishment, and your energy levels will reflect the steady fuel that lentils provide. The Promised Land was described as a place flowing with milk and honey, a sign of God's ultimate abundance. While honey itself only contains trace amounts of iron, it earns a spot on our list as a helper food. Ancient wisdom and modern research both suggest that the natural sugars and enzymes in raw honey can actually help the body absorb minerals more effectively from other foods. It's as if the honey prepares the way for the iron to enter the bloodstream. Darker varieties, like buckwheat honey, tend to have a higher mineral content than the pale, clear versions. I often suggest using a small drizzle of raw honey on your morning oatmeal or in a bowl of yogurt. It provides a clean source of energy that doesn't cause the harsh crash associated with white table sugar. Beyond the blood, honey has been used for centuries to soothe the throat and support a healthy immune response. I remember my mother giving us a spoonful of honey and lemon whenever we felt a bit run down. A word of caution that is very important. Never give honey to infants under 1 year old due to the risk of botulism. For us adults, though, it is a sweet blessing from the hive. Just remember that it is still sugar, so use it sparingly. A teaspoon is usually enough to get the benefits without overdoing the calories. When the spies returned from scouting the land of Canaan, they brought back pomegranates as proof of the land's richness. This fruit was so highly regarded that its image was embroidered onto the hem of the high priest's robe. Many people look at the deep blood-red juice of a pomegranate and assume it must be full of iron. While it does have some, its real power lies in its massive dose of vitamin C and antioxidants called polyphenol. As we've discussed, plant-based iron needs vitamin C to be absorbed. Pomegranates provide the perfect environment for iron absorption. If you eat a bowl of iron-rich spinach or lentils and follow it with some pomegranate seeds, you are essentially supercharging your meal. These antioxidants also help protect the lining of your arteries, ensuring that the oxygen your blood is carrying can actually reach your heart and brain without interference. Opening one can be a bit of a chore, but if you score the skin and break it open in a bowl of water, the seeds will sink to the bottom, and the white pith will float to the top. It's a clean way to get to the jewels inside. If you prefer the juice, just make sure it's 100% pure with no added sugar. Be aware that pomegranate can sometimes interact with blood pressure or cholesterol medications, so a quick check with your pharmacist is always a smart move. While pumpkins themselves are a product of the New World, the principle of eating oily, nutrient-dense seeds is as old as the hills of Judea. Pumpkin seeds, often called pepitas, are an absolute iron powerhouse, offering about 8 milligrams per 100 grams. That means a small handful gives you a significant portion of your daily requirement. They are also one of the best plant sources of zinc and magnesium. Zinc is vital for keeping your immune system strong, something we all think about more as the seasons change. And magnesium is the relaxation mineral that helps our muscles stay limp and our sleep stay deep. I've found that many of my friends who struggle with leg cramps at night find relief by adding a few pumpkin seeds to their evening routine. You can roast them yourself with a little olive oil and a dash of sea salt for a crunchy, satisfying snack. They are much better for you than potato chips or crackers. Because they are dense in healthy fats, they can go rancid if left in a warm pantry for too long. So I recommend keeping them in the refrigerator to stay fresh. Just remember that they are calorie-dense, so you don't need a whole bowl. A small palmful is the perfect serving size to get the iron and minerals your body craves. The almond tree is the first to bloom in the spring in the Holy Land, a symbol of wakefulness and new life. Aaron's staff miraculously sprouted almond blossoms as a sign of God's choice, and the golden lampstand in the tabernacle was shaped like almond flowers. Almonds are more than just a symbol. They are a concentrated source of vitality. They provide about 4 milligrams of iron along with a healthy dose of vitamin E, which is essential for keeping our skin and eyes healthy. What I love about almonds is their ability to help manage blood sugar. When you eat a few almonds with a piece of fruit, the fiber and healthy fats slow down the digestion of the fruit sugar, giving you a steady burn of energy rather than a spike and a crash. This is particularly helpful for those of us managing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. I like to soak my almonds overnight in a bit of water. It makes them much easier to chew, and some say it helps the body absorb the nutrients even better. You can also use almond butter on a slice of whole grain toast for a quick, iron-rich breakfast. Just be sure to check the ingredients and make sure there isn't any added palm oil or sugar. Like all nuts, they are a common allergen, so be mindful of those around you and keep your portions to about an ounce a day to keep your weight in check. In the Song of Solomon, we read about the Garden of Nuts, which many scholars believe was a reference to the lush walnut groves of the region. Walnuts have a unique place on our list because they look remarkably like the human brain, and as it turns out, they are one of the best foods for cognitive health. While they offer about 3 milligrams of iron, their real strength is their high concentration of alpha-linolenic acid, a type of omega-3 fatty acid. These fats are essential for keeping the wiring in our brains healthy, which helps with memory and focus. As we get older, keeping our mind sharp is just as important as keeping our body strong. Walnuts also contain unique antioxidants that help fight inflammation in the brain and heart. I've found that adding chopped walnuts to a morning bowl of steel-cut oats is one of the best ways to start a productive day. Because they have such a high oil content, they can spoil quickly, so always give them a quick sniff before you eat them. If they smell like paint thinner, they've gone bad. Keep them in the freezer to preserve those delicate fats. A small handful a day is all you need. They provide a wonderful crunch to salads and can even be ground up to make a healthy crust for baked fish, which we will talk about more in a moment. Sesame seeds may be tiny, but in the ancient world, they were a massive source of oil and nutrition. While not mentioned by name in every translation, they were a staple crop across the ancient Near East and Egypt. These seeds are actually one of the highest plant sources of iron you can find, with unhulled seeds carrying nearly 14 milligrams per 100 grams. Most of us see them as just a decoration on a bread roll, but they should be a main character in our diet. The best way to eat them is in the form of tahini, which is a creamy paste made from ground sesame seeds. Because the seeds are ground up, your body can actually access the iron and calcium inside much more easily than if you ate the whole seeds, which often pass through the system undigested. Tahini is the base for hummus, but you can also drizzle it over roasted vegetables or mix it into a salad dressing. It has a rich, nutty flavor that is very satisfying. One thing to watch out for is that sesame is now recognized as a major allergen for some people, so be careful if you've never tried it before. Also, like spinach, sesame contains phytates that can slow iron absorption, so always pair your tahini with a squeeze of lemon or some fresh parsley to help that iron get where it needs to go. Now, this next one might surprise you because it certainly wasn't around in the days of Moses. Dark chocolate is a newcomer to the human diet compared to lentils and olives, but it has earned its place as a legitimate health food. When we talk about dark chocolate, I mean the kind that is at least 70% cacao. This bitter, rich treat is surprisingly high in iron, offering about 11 milligrams per 100 grams. It also contains flavonols, which are plant compounds that help relax your blood vessels and improve circulation. When your blood flows better, the iron it carries can reach your extremities more efficiently, which can help if you often suffer from cold hands or feet. I like to think of a small square of dark chocolate as a little reward at the end of the day that actually does some good. It's important to stay away from milk chocolate, which is mostly sugar and fat with very little of the actual cacao that holds the minerals. Also, be mindful that chocolate does contain a small amount of caffeine and another stimulant called theobromine. If you are sensitive to caffeine, try to enjoy your chocolate in the early afternoon rather than right before bed, so it doesn't interfere with your rest. And, as a reminder for my fellow dog lovers, keep the chocolate high on the shelf, as it is toxic to our furry friends, even though it's a blessing for us. When David was fleeing from his son Absalom and found himself in the wilderness, the Bible tells us that his supporters brought him beans and lentils to sustain him. Many historians believe these were fava beans, also known as broad beans. These have been a staple of the Mediterranean diet for over 8,000 years. They are incredibly dense in iron, providing about 6 milligrams per serving. And they are also a rare food source of L-dopa, a compound that the body uses to produce dopamine. This can help with mood and motor function, which is a wonderful bonus. Fava beans can be bought dried or canned. If you buy them dried, they need a good soak, and the tough outer skin usually needs to be removed after cooking, which can be a bit of a project. But the result is a creamy, delicious bean that is wonderful in stews. However, there is a very important medical caution with fava beans. There is a genetic condition called G6PD deficiency, which is more common in people of Mediterranean or African descent. For people with this condition, eating fava beans can cause a serious breakdown of red blood cells. If you have ever been told you have this deficiency, or if you have a history of unexplained anemia, please check with your doctor before adding fava beans to your diet. For everyone else, they are an ancient power food that can help rebuild your iron stores and keep your spirits high. Chia seeds are another modern discovery that aligns perfectly with the ancient principle of seeking out the smallest things for the greatest strength. These tiny seeds were the fuel of the ancient Aztec warriors, who could reportedly travel for days on just a small pouch of them. They carry about 7 milligrams of iron along with a massive amount of soluble fiber. When you put chia seeds in liquid, they swell up and form a gel. This gel is wonderful for your digestion, helping things move along smoothly, which we all know becomes more of a priority as we get older. They are also rich in omega-3 fats, which help fight inflammation throughout the body. Because they are virtually tasteless, you can add them to almost anything. I like to stir a tablespoon into my morning juice or mix them into my yogurt. A very important safety tip: never eat chia seeds dry by the spoonful. Because they absorb so much water, they can actually expand in your throat and cause a blockage if you don't drink enough liquid. Always let them soak for at least 10 minutes in some water or milk before you eat them. This turns them into a sort of pudding that is much safer and easier to digest. Start with just a small amount, maybe a teaspoon, to see how your stomach handles the extra fiber, and then work your way up to a tablespoon a day. In the book of Proverbs, the virtuous woman is described as seeking out wool and flax to work with her hands. While flax was primarily used to make the fine linen worn by the priests, the seeds of the flax plant are a nutritional goldmine that the ancients surely recognized. Flax seeds offer about 6 milligrams of iron and are perhaps the best plant source of lignans, which are compounds that help balance hormones and protect against certain types of cellular stress. Like sesame seeds, flax seeds have a very tough outer shell. If you eat them whole, they will likely pass right through you without giving up their iron or their healthy fats. You must eat them ground. I recommend buying whole flax seeds and grinding a small amount in a coffee grinder every few days. This keeps the oils from going rancid, which they do very quickly once the shell is broken. Store your ground flax in the refrigerator to keep it fresh. I love to sprinkle a tablespoon of ground flax over my salad or mix it into my muffin batter. It has a mild, nutty flavor that goes with almost anything. Because flax is so high in fiber, make sure you drink plenty of water throughout the day to help it do its work. It's a simple, inexpensive way to add a layer of protection to your heart and a boost to your blood. Finally, we come to the food that defined the ministry of Jesus and his disciples: fish. From the miraculous catches on the Sea of Galilee to the breakfast Jesus cooked on the shore after his resurrection, fish is the ultimate biblical protein. While all fish are good for you, the smaller, oilier fish like sardines and mackerel are the real iron bombs. A small tin of sardines can provide nearly 3 milligrams of iron. More importantly, like beef liver, this is heme, iron, which your body absorbs with great efficiency. Fish also provides the essential vitamin B12 and the highest levels of omega-3 fatty acids, which are the primary building blocks for a healthy brain and a strong heart. I know sardines aren't everyone's favorite, but if you mash them up with some lemon juice, mustard, and a bit of onion, they make a delicious spread for crackers. If you prefer larger fish like salmon or cod, you'll still get a good dose of iron and protein, just a bit less than the smaller varieties. The beauty of fish is that it is light on the digestive system and very easy to prepare. Just a word of caution regarding mercury. Try to stick to smaller fish more often than large predatory fish like swordfish, as the smaller ones have much lower levels of heavy metals. Aiming for 2 servings of fish a week is a wonderful way to follow the Galilean diet and keep your blood rich and your mind clear. Think back over everything we've talked about today. We've seen the luxury of the pistachio and the bitter strength of the greens. We've looked at the sacred liver and the humble, sun-dried raisin. We've visited the olive groves and the lentil fields, and we've tasted the sweetness of honey and the brightness of the pomegranate. We've explored the tiny but mighty seeds, pumpkin, sesame, chia, and flax, and even found a place for the richness of dark chocolate and the ancient fava bean. And of course, we've returned to the shores of Galilee for the fish that sustained the apostles. Each of these 17 items is a thread in a larger tapestry of health that God has woven for us. They aren't just random foods. They are purposeful provisions designed to keep our earthen vessels functioning so we can finish the race set before us. When your blood is rich with iron, your heart doesn't have to work as hard, your lungs feel fuller, and your mind stays sharp enough to study the Word and enjoy your family. It is a rhythmic cycle of nourishment. The earth provides, the body absorbs, and the spirit is strengthened. True healing and vitality rarely come from a single miracle pill or a quick fix. They come from the slow, daily habit of choosing life-giving foods over processed imitations. Ancient wisdom has returned to us through modern science, confirming that what worked for the people of the Bible still works for us today. Our bodies are remarkable creations, capable of repair and renewal even as we age, provided we give them the right tools. I want to encourage you not to feel overwhelmed by this list. You don't have to eat all 17 of these today. Just pick one. Maybe tomorrow you'll buy a bag of lentils or a tin of sardines. Maybe you'll start squeezing a little lemon over your spinach. These small, faithful steps add up to a life of greater energy and less fatigue. We are stewards of these bodies, and choosing to nourish them with the iron bombs the Lord provided is a beautiful way to show gratitude for the life we've been given. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Which one of these 17 foods is already a favorite in your house? Or which one are you planning to try for the first time this week? If you found this helpful, please consider sharing it with a friend who might be feeling a little tired lately. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue this journey together. It's a joy to share these truths with you. As you go about your week, remember that your health is a gift, and the Creator has provided everything you need to flourish. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and give you peace. May your strength be renewed like the eagles, and may your days be full of the vitality that comes from a well-nourished soul and a well-fed body. Until next time, stay healthy, stay faithful, and keep walking in the light.